The Banking Scene Director's Cut goes behind the scenes, sharing stories and insights to help you build the bank of tomorrow.
Yeah, Rick, what did you think of our banking scene outlet last week?
Well, it doesn't really matter what I think, but according to the audience, it was for maybe unfortunately, I don't know, but the best event we had so far. So it looks like we raised the bar again for next time.
I
And
can't
I was
even
worried
think of
because it was like you brought in the art and was quite a struggle to get where we got like 1 to 2 weeks before the event. But it was such a success.
it was. We got there in the end.
We have been reinventing the art of the possible.
But that was really pushing the boundaries. I mean,
Yeah.
having four walls as a canvas to do things with, thinking of how we could get people to break out of there every day. And for me, it was mainly about getting people to think about the consequences of their decisions that
Yeah.
they have to make, so that when they go back to work, it's not just, yeah, I've got to make this decision, but they think of the longer term. I mean, that
Mm.
was brought together through the art. I think Lisa did a very good job about bringing a topic that had nothing to do with banking, really.
Yes.
Was mainly around, well, climate, the earth, society, our future, the
Technology.
the-
And so it just
everything.
doesn't matter because with the art night, that's what we always do is try to bring a different flavor of the theme. And I think that's what we absolutely did there. It was an AI created movie, 20 minutes, and people were engaged. They were heavily engaged.
Movie, you can't even call it a movie. It was an immersive
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I was describing it to somebody the other day, and I said, after the break, we stepped back into a spaceship, and they went, hang on, what? And I went, yeah, we stepped into a spaceship and we took off because we had to leave Earth because we as humanity had killed Earth and we had
Yeah.
a last goodbye. I was a bit disappointed that most people didn't realize that the floor had opened up beneath them. I was trying to get people to look down, but they were looking up.
Yeah.
But the floor had opened up beneath them as we saw the Earth disappearing and had Farewell to Earth, the original song there.
And this connect like I was looking downward to my phone because on Friday evening, and that's for me like one of the biggest compliments you can get to get at 8 in the evening from one of our international members saying, I had another moment to take some time to look at the after movie and awesome. And that's also what people found that I showed them. Compliments to you and the team. Enjoy the weekend and see you next time. We've been
Fabulous.
bringing magic there, my friend. And maybe we should not like praise ourselves too much. That's not what this podcast is for. But the idea of reinventing the art of the possible, I think it fitted well. It also fitted well with what we've been doing this year. But again, it shouldn't be about us. I think if you look back at the conversations, what I was thinking this morning, because one of the things, like, it sounds a bit obvious. I think it was ING that said that during COVID, they had to reinvent the art of the possible. And that made me think, like 1 week later, maybe that's also a bit what set big incumbents into a startup modus. Startups, why are they capable of reinventing themselves so easily is that they're always in a survival mode. And that's what incumbents experienced during COVID as well. And every once in a while, maybe we should put ourselves in crisis mode because that's when the brightest ideas come up as well. If you have a culture that embraces that, and that was also one of the key conclusions from the sessions.
Yeah, and when it was Philip Rombots that had made that comment, and when he had made it, it got me thinking. Most of us have already forgotten about COVID. It's the sort of blur that happened over there, and yes, it did sound rather obvious when he went. We had to make decisions and make things happen within days and weeks instead of months and years. And the difficulty for a lot of organizations is now that we've returned back to the way it was almost completely, how do you keep
Yeah.
that momentum? How do you keep going without an artificial crisis?
Yeah.
How do you keep that whole culture of change going? I see in some companies that I've been interacting with recently that they seem to be slipping back into their old ways, starting with forcing people to come back to work if physically in the office simply because they have buildings. People
It's not
worked.
simply because they have buildings. It's also because you want to glue an organization. So in certain respect, I do get that. You just need to make sure that you can keep that agility that you created.
Yeah, I don't mind if it's for the right reasons,
Yeah.
as you say, collaboration internally. But what I see a lot of people is also going back to the old ways of doing things. So the processes that were, let's not say bypassed, but people found ways to do things faster during the COVID crisis. And now it's like, well, there's no crisis anymore, so we'll just go back to doing the things the way they were. And
Yeah.
timelines seem to be shifting back out again. And I think that's something that people have to make a conscious effort to keep that momentum of change. And that was something where I really enjoyed Isabel Watti's insights when she said, due to the recent merger between De Groot Petercam and Indosuz, they saw how Indosuz has been very innovative and effective in what they had been doing in recent years. And De Groot wanted to instill that across their organization because it's a bigger organization. They didn't want just one department responsible for change. So they've sort of blown up the original innovation team and they've embedded in all of their lines.
It's what you see more and more in banks these days.
Those ambassadors and those
And
people.
the innovation ambassadors, you see them less and less because they are embedded in the organization.
In
Every
the
silo has their own
organization.
innovation manager. Yep.
Of course, they still need the support of senior management. They need the old, I think in one of our think tanks, we were discussing the topic of legacy, and a point was made that legacy doesn't only refer to infrastructure. Legacy also refers to old, outdated processes and old ways of doing things.
Reminds me, Andrew, I hope that next year we can have another Monsters and Myths think tank session. Those are always so much fun.
I hope we can, because then you'll also be able to have the new packs that I'm going to go and speak to my printer today about. I'm actually
really?
commercializing, and I'm putting them in proper pack of cards with instructions and gameplay and the whole lot, and I'm going to be making that for sale. So apologies for hijacking, but you raised it, and I didn't know you were going to raise it. But yes, that's I'm bringing that now. Finally, it's registered. It's a real thing. Copyright registered and the whole lot. But anyway, let's not divert.
What do you think for the presentation by KBC?
KBC, there was some great points that came out of there that I think a lot of us take for granted. The main one being that most banks only look to support their customers during key moments, buying a house, buying a car, and then in between that, it's just like, well, they've got banking, the people can do it. And I think that was a great, the metaphor was not only to support our customers on the peaks of the mountains, but also in the valleys, in the day-to-day. And that was it was a beautiful presentation visually, and I think a very powerful message as well.
There was also a lot of AI involved in there.
In creating it.
Yeah.
people
But
might
there's
have
nothing
responded.
wrong with creating background visuals with AI. Huh?
No, but I was going to
Fine.
say people might don't give away the secrets. I use AI for most of our backgrounds as well, and a lot of the work that we do.
Although, let's be clear, the logos that you see behind Andrew, those people have effectively joined our events.
Oh yes,
It is
oh
not
yes.
artificial intelligently
There's
driven.
nothing intelligent about,
Yeah.
artificial about that. But I do think that with the KBC presentation, what Karen was reinforcing was there are so many more touch points
Yeah.
that they have the opportunity, that banks have the opportunity to support their customers in.
Mm.
And I thought it was a very interesting use of Kate coins to push loyalty. So, buy a car through KBC, and as part of that, you get awarded some Kate coins. Okay, what can I use the Kate coins on? Well, tire changes,
Or like right now,
services.
buy on Amazon your gifts for Christmas. Although I
Yeah.
did get a note from one of the C-suites from KBC after I shared that you can now buy my book and get Kate coins. Apparently, it doesn't apply to the books.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. But can you buy the books with Kate coins?
No, I think it's a way to earn Kate coins and they can use them afterwards at other suppliers or for KBC products, etc.
Yeah.
I think.
But I do, since you had touched on artificial intelligence, there was one mic drop moment for me in the whole evening, and that came from Guido Ronchetti. When he was talking about our superhuman adversaries that we face.
And that
in
presentation is
fraudulent-
online, by the way.
Yes, yeah, and I can put a link to that
Yeah.
in the show notes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I know once you start talking, I may forget leaving the teaser.
But I think that was, I mean, he was describing how fraudsters are using AI to commit
Wait,
scams.
did you say Forsters?
You'll
Because
get
you've been working for me for a few years now.
you'll get your fraudsters.
Okay.
Properly pronounced. Yeah, how they are using AI, basically fraud factories to commit scams and fraud at scale.
Yeah.
And how can you possibly expect a fraud department of yesterday to be able to combat these AI fraudsters of tomorrow? His solution was very simple. It takes an AI to beat an AI. But also part of his presentation that got me thinking, that I was quite taken by Peter van Heerse's presentation at Barbecue Night, all about the agentic customers of the future. And what Guido is pointing out is that customer agents are going to be very, very hard to distinguish from fraudulent agents. Because at the moment, you can possibly detect a fraudster, scammer, because of the speed at which they can do things. A human can't really hit the keystrokes and do the things at the speed that they can. However, in the very near future, if I have a Andrew Forster agent, not a fraudster.
Andrew Forster fraudster.
If I have an agent acting on my behalf, that's going to operate at speed. So
yeah, but that's where it may be worth reading Peter van Hees's book. It's online now. I had the opportunity to read the draft. That's where the agent reputation score comes in. And that's where you see AI being combined with blockchain technology. That may be part of the solution there. If you can build an agent that starts to build a reputation where you can fall back on to see like, okay, he's been providing good behavior, etc. Then you start building a whole new framework. So that may be the missing piece that solves part of the story.
I'm going to rather wait to get my free copy of Peter van Heerse's book at our event. Remind me which one he's going to be doing a book signing at again.
That's Amsterdam, March 24.
Oh, apologies for all of the plugs
Talking
then.
of which, we haven't discussed one. There's one session that we haven't discussed yet, and that's straight from Amsterdam, Thomas Fles,
Yeah.
who, based on his own rather awful experience as an entrepreneur at banks, decided to build bank himself. And that was pretty refreshing because it's probably the newest bank we ever had on our stage, GoDutch.
Really?
No? Which
Nickel?
fresher bank did we ever have? Like, which bank had a shorter history than GoDutch on our stages? Can you
I
come
don't
up
know.
with
Your
one?
history goes back further than mine. I thought Nickel was quite a new one when you had
No,
them on.
Nickel exists for years in France. They just came to Belgium.
Okay. So, yeah, Thomas's, I mean, by the end of his presentation, I found myself wishing that he was available in the UK because certainly the things, I mean, the first thing was his KYC, KYB, completed within 3 hours, as opposed to the couple of days and repeated ridiculous KYC and KYB that I went through onboarding here. But not only that, it was just the other things that they've paid so much attention to simple things like automated invoice processing. That is so useful to a small business, solo entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. Although I could do it. KBC provides as well, for example. But I use different service. I don't know whether that applies to any entrepreneur. I don't know how you make your invoices, for example, but it's not that I'm currently, but that's maybe a matter of habits, that I'm currently waiting for my bank to provide invoice processing. Although in terms of reconciliation, etc., I can imagine that's pretty useful. Unless they have the APIs to provide that reconciliation in real time by connecting the bank app with a third-party app.
Yeah, a lot of my own bank provides an API to export to an accounting system.
Yeah.
But the way that they have it all integrated and all within there, I think for smaller businesses, it may not work for the banking scene, but for smaller businesses, I think that's an amazing. I
Banking
would
is
like.
a one-person business, my friend.
What
No,
are you
but I mean, if you look at the growth of the company, there's definitely demand for it. They're doing a pretty good job. And they are growing. They are looking to expand. I had at least one person in the audience asking me to connect him to see how they can help expand to Belgium, perhaps. So let's see how it goes. I think it's a refreshing model. And also the fact that they were very honest about their sustainable footprint. They plant trees in Kenya. But they also
quarter of a
realized that
million
if you
square meters?
leave, they also realized that if you leave the option to the client, they may prefer the cash instead of the trees. Maybe that's also because the final decision from finance may not be the decision of the owner of the company. I don't know. But they decided to change and to keep planting trees nonetheless, which is, I think, a very good example of a new ethos in banking.
That specific point also resonated during Karin van der Woesthuizen's presentation, KBC.
Karen van de Woestijnen.
Sorry, I am terrible at pronunciation. Because she had said, and we all know it intuitively, customers will say one thing and do another.
Yeah.
And they will, even if you survey them and you say, would you like a option to be able to have sustainability offsets, they'll all tick the box, yes, because that's the right thing to do. But when you actually put the choice in front of them, as Karin had said, it's about observing and understanding their intent and understanding their actions.
And there's, I think, a very valuable, even if the bubble of AI would burst, and even if AI doesn't fulfill its expectations, the fact that stimulated organizations to think about intent instead of customer demand or customer journeys, I think already a success. I think that intent is so important. And until 1 or 2 years ago, we never spoke about it.
So for me, what was great about the whole theme of reinventing the art of the possible is I think it's a perfect stepping stone from this year's theme to next year's theme about rethinking relevance.
Yeah.
Because as banks currently in the whole AI age and customer expectations, which just are changing so rapidly and haven't stopped changing, I think as they approach the year ahead and they rethink their own position in their customers' lives, they are going to have to rethink the art of the possible on how they are going to remain relevant for their customers in the future.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The theme that we will explore for the first 3 conferences next year. And on that note, we'll say goodbye for this week.
So-